Home Talk this fine February Friday. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell, hanging out with Mr. Leo King with Beryl Engineering and Inspections. Good morning.
Good morning. I've got some exciting news for everyone today.
We have Adam Talley in the house as well.
Good morning
He's
as well.
He's not calling in or absentee with Talley Insurance. And I saw Leo over here calculating percentages before we jumped in.
I think it's very important to add percentages to our discussion about the numbers.
You can tell me and I'll add a whole column and we'll start tracking it. But we're going to, as we do every Friday morning, go over the real estate numbers for the Tampa Bay housing market. And in these data set of numbers, we report single-family homes, a 7-day trend in 3 counties, so Hillsborough, Pasco, and Pinellas counties. And so this week we have 883
new listings, which is actually more than last week.
It is more than last week. We have...
How much more?
Just a couple.
Just a hair.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was the percentage you were doing.
851 to 883. So it's not a substantial difference. And then
5%.
Yeah, we have also price decreases. 1,088. That's up a little bit over last week too.
Those are hilarious to me. Everyone's chasing the market in the wrong direction.
Price improvements.
Price improvements. If you're going to decrease and if you are overpriced and you're decreasing, you're probably not decreasing enough.
You didn't get the condition of the price or something correct. Also, on sold listings, we're coming in at, is that 507?
That is 507.
All right, and that is down.
Down substantially. So when we take a look at our trend for inventory between last week and this week, last week, 77% of the new listings were already sold off the market, if we look at the aggregate larger number. This week, it's actually 507 divided by last week's new listings, which is 851. So this week, only 60% of those new listings were gobbled up in the inventory. So basically, there was a 17% reduction in the amount of new homes being gobbled up, which means that there's a sharper inventory out there if you're looking to buy something.
Now, I have a question for you, and I know you say it all the time that these numbers do not reflect this, but what are you seeing with the builders on their pricing and inventory? Are they leveling out on pricing and have inventory, or is it different?
I think it goes in flows.
Okay.
And we see this a little bit from week to week. If you notice, Leo, we see this in these trends and in these numbers we look at, but I've noticed that they'll have just quite a few properties available and they won't have a buyer for it, and they'll be very close to getting the CO, and they'll be really aggressive and they'll do price reductions on those to get them moved. And then you have other sides where some of these builders are not offering any incentives because they're not building maybe as quick.
Is it community specific, right? If you're in a hot area with new builders,
it's always location, right? So definitely community specific always is going to play a part. The cost, I think, is playing a huge part. We're seeing a big difference in the number of luxury properties selling as quickly. We look at list to sales price ratio, right? I look at my own list to sales price ratio to see what percentage of the list price did we actually get from a buyer at closing.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is construction prices are actually on the decline. We noticed this when doing our Senate Bill 4D/154 structural integrity reserve studies. We're having to adjust our prices down.
Which we probably need to do another whole show on again, by the way, soon.
Especially when House Bill 1178 hits effect and they change the rules slightly. And Adam can chime in because the back half of that's a citizens bill every year.
Which, I don't know the numbers. What's the one with 78?
1178, that's Senate Bill 4D/154's version for 2024. So basically the front half of the bill is going to be on structural integrity reserve studies, milestone inspections. The back half of the bill is on how citizens is trying to pull a fast one.
Increase rates, right?
Well,
there's a whole bunch of insurance stuff on the dock right now.
About increasing rates in that bill as much as they are in limiting coverages in that bill. Like this year, they're trying to slide in. A couple of years ago, citizens tried to make it so every shingle roof, it didn't matter if it had a 30-year useful life, a 50-year useful life. Every shingle roof only had a 10-year useful life.
Aren't they? I thought I read or saw or heard something they're trying to limit it to 15
They're trying to do 15 this year, which is still outrageous because you can't compare a three-dimensional, a 3-tab shingle roof to an architectural dimensional shingle roof. They're completely different materials. It's like saying my 1-ply toilet paper is as strong as my 3-ply toilet paper. And we all know from using public restrooms, the toilet paper you have at home is much better than the
Yeah, you
stuff
don't want
in
that
Publix.
half-ply airport stuff. You know?
Yeah, so I mean, that's what they're doing. They're basically saying the 3-ply Cottonelle wipe your butt with a bear toilet paper is the same strength as that cardboard thin paper you use in the
You need
airport.
4 times as much of.
Yeah, and I mean, who are you kidding with the 1-ply toilet paper? I mean, honestly, the roll is super big, and that's because people just double and triple it up.
All right, let's go back to roofing. I think what I saw on there, it was only the shingles, right? That they're trying to impose that on only shingle roofs.
No, it's all roofing. They've actually
What? All roofing.
They're doing it for tile roofs. They're saying 50 years useful life, which is actually longer than what they want you to believe before, which is 25. They've finally given up trying to push the 25-year tile roof in Florida, which is nice. They've gone to 20 years across the board on flat roofing, which is, again, it's like saying your French fries and your potatoes au gratin and your twice-baked mashed potatoes are all the same, because you've got like modified bitumen that has a 12-year useful life, TPO, which has a 25 useful life, and an EDPM, which has a 2-year useful life.
What are you talking about? You need to explain that to the listener and me.
So basically, flat roofing is not shingle, not tile. It's flat roofing. It's basically like a material you roll out and stick down to your deck.
Right.
And they are drastically different, but citizens across the board is saying they should all have a 20-year useful life, even the one that only has 12.
What about metal?
I don't believe metal's on the list.
See, why? That's the best, one of the best roofing products you can have.
Meddling with the useful life tables.
Oh, see, I like that.
Meddling. So why would we want them to include more criteria and more items?
I don't. I'm just saying, back to your comparison analysis, there's not a comparison even from a metal roof to a shingle roof, for example.
Yeah, but metal's not on the list. So, like, they specifically say shingle. They specifically say concrete, clay, tile.
Okay, so there's just no rules for metal?
No rules.
Is that
for
what it
metal.
is, Adam? Do you know?
Well, I mean, if you're asking from like a carrier perspective, it depends on the carrier,
Yeah.
right? So like carriers, regardless of what gets passed,
So-
carriers still get to choose what they want
I have
to
another
take
question
on.
too.
Okay.
Do you know about, there's something that is on the table that talks about getting insurance for just the amount of the mortgage. Do you know about that?
That I haven't read up
Yeah,
on.
it's
I think.
on the-
Now,
interesting.
I do
Have
know
you seen
with
that?
the problem is like you still have built into all these policies. You have co-insurance clauses and that kind of stuff. So be careful what you wish for. Now you can do that on flood. So flood, so long as your carrier isn't citizens and requires you to match what you have, flood you can do your loan amount. Like they don't care. You can insure if you have $32,000 left. You can insure it for $32,000, even if it's worth $1 million.
So, I mean, what about the reverse? What if I have a $50,000 mortgage, but the property is worth $1 million? Mm-hmm. Then I'm sure the $50,000 that becomes my limits of coverage, regardless. Because
I think they're trying to make insurance more affordable, which I don't know is a good solution.
If you wanted to with flood, you could. But if you have, but flood, you can also go the other direction. So like the NFIP, which is the National Flood Insurance Program, that's what's backed by FEMA. NFIP caps out at $250, but we have excess policies that can go above that. So conversely, you can still get $1 million if you want it. You might not want to pay for it.
If
but
the house, so what about the situation where my house is only worth $150,000 to rebuild? So that's
Okay.
the replacement cost. My mortgage is $300,000.
then you can still do $150 because that's the replacement cost.
Okay.
Yeah. You should do $150 because that's the replacement.
So you
cost.
shouldn't do the $300 to cover the mortgage.
Correct.
Right.
The mortgage, in my opinion, if it's going to, what they're trying to do is to say, hey, you don't have to insure at replacement
Yeah,
value.
they're trying to make
to
insurance
try to
more
lower
affordable.
it. But, I mean, I think that's a slippery slope.
Sticky wicket.
Yeah, because what are you going to do? If you're only covering your mortgage and you get that check, you have to pay off your mortgage. You're still starting from scratch with a pile of dirt. Like, what are you going to do? So
It defeats the purpose of actual insurance. I think we're looking at affordability of insurance at this point.
right, yeah. I mean, at that point, just pay. Have the mortgage due force place, and that only covers them anyways. So move on with your life.
we're still
Yeah, but
going
it's expensive.
Exactly. So
Still going towards a scenario where the rich get rich and the poor get poorer, because if your insurance is only covering your mortgage, you don't have anything left to rebuild, and then you're left with a pile of dirt.
I don't know why there's not like a catastrophic insurance policy type thing. You know
It
what I
is
mean?
catastrophic ground collapse.
Not that. I'm talking about like hazard insurance. I'm talking about like instead of like people can't make a claim for just the roof, right? Like it gets rid of that nitpicky type which bleeds the insurance companies, but it truly protects somebody if their house burned down, right?
They're already starting to try and get rid of those type, now a lot of insurance companies have a storm created opening clause or a peril created opening clause. So if your roof is damaged but you didn't have an interior leak, you're not getting any coverage. Doesn't matter if your roof is shredded. If you can't prove that an interior leak happened directly from your roof getting shredded, then you don't have coverage on your roof.
Which that's the bad part of people abusing the system and getting their insurance covering the roof, right? That was probably, it should have been a deferred maintenance type thing that they were saving money for. We saw a lot of that.
You're going to see a lot of ACV roof schedules in the future. I mean, most of them are going that way anyways. So, I mean, it's just what you're going to end up with, really restricted coverage to be affordable.
To recap on the numbers really quick, new listings coming in at 883. Our solds are down pretty sharply at 507 this week compared to 648 last week. And the number of pending home sales up, coming in at 968.
Which leads us to a 16% increase in availability.
All right, it's compared to 879 last week, so we'll see how many of those actually get to the finish line. Sold is all that actually counts because that's money in the bank. This is Tampa Home Talk. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell. Our off-air number is 813-377-2775. 813-377-2775. Stick around. We'll be right back.
From home, this is Leo Kane with Beryl Engineering and Inspection, welcoming you back to segment number 2 of the Tampa Home Talk. This is February 9th, and we'll be here for your entire February 9th. Because you get played on repeat when you smash like and subscribe on the YouTube, or you hit replay on that Facebook Live.
So we're going to talk about some of the home improvement projects you should consider taking on this year, according to some of the designers and the designer trends for 2024.
I was waiting for his dad joke of the segment. Isn't this dad joke segment?
Do you have a dad joke? Are we running into that?
I just have to naturally let them flow in.
Okay.
I mean, like, during the break, we were talking about Gasparilla again.
Yes.
And there is the night parade tomorrow.
The night parade is tomorrow.
So this isn't a dad joke. This is just me plugging the night parade. So if you happen to be in Ybor City tomorrow evening and you want to check out a smaller version of the Gasparilla Festival, a much smaller run for the crews that are involved in it, you can check out the night parade in Ybor City. It goes down 7th Ave.
Right down the street from your house. You just walk on up.
Just goes right down 7th Ave. It would be much easier for me to walk to the parade queue line, walk the parade, and walk home than it was for the actual Gasparilla, which occurred a couple of weeks ago.
For sure. So I got a question, Leo, my little Bill Nye science guy on the air.
Yes.
I bought glow-in-the-dark beads for Gasparilla.
Okay.
And they're not glowing as bright as I thought they might. So what's your tips to... I know you can put them by the light, but they're just not as bright as I thought they would be.
So
any tips to get them to glow a little brighter?
Are these the ones that glow in the dark because they absorb light and then they just kind of shine at night? After they've absorbed that light, the residual glow.
I should give you the bead and let you dissect it and let me know. I don't know.
Because that's the old style of glow in the dark. So you have to subject it to light, and then it has to absorb it, and then it kind of just dissipates that light slowly over time.
It is a light subjection. I noticed that. So I hung it by my lamp, and then it was glowing, but it was like a faint glow.
They're just gonna always be faint. So the downside to those beads is if you're handing them out during the day and people are wearing them, they should have a residual glow. But if you take them out of a bag at night and they haven't been subjected to light, they're not going to glow at all.
Oh, man.
They're still only going to be faint glow. But you have to think the night parade actually, what time does that start? That starts before sunset, though.
I don't know.
so.
They're having our security crews get there around 5. I think we're supposed to be somewhere else before. I haven't read. Yeah, I didn't read the outline, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not going this year because with the crew I was in, we got the queuing schedule, and you got to queue at 2:30 to 3. And I'm like, I'm not queuing at 2:30 for a 7 o'clock parade.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, that's rough.
That's but by that time they're going to be nice and.
Well, I mean, with all you can drink on the boat, yeah, with all you can drink on the float, that would depend. But yeah, I mean, it's always a fun experience going to the Ybor City one versus Bayshore. There's more shops and bars and restaurants to dart in and out of. Afterwards, you're in the middle of a district of fun festivities, and I guessing security and the police presence will be over the top again.
There's a little more wildness too to the night parade.
Does it go east to west or west to east?
I think it goes from 21st to 15th.
I've got
Okay.
that parade. Do you know, or I can look it up if I. Do you know?
I think you need to look it up because I'm not going to be in the parade this year.
So while she's looking that up, house improvements, we talked a little bit about it. I wanted to get your opinion on it, or see how far up the river you'd have to go to not have this happen. But when it comes to warranties on metal roofs, if you live near the water.
Yeah, the salt spray becomes real, and it doesn't matter if you live on the bay, the Gulf, or off the river. I mean, they're going to want to know that the roof is not going to acceleratedly deteriorate due to that salt spray, which is very vicious. And you'd think, like I know this from being involved in the Tampa Bay Water desal plant that's in Gibsonton, the salinity difference between the bay and the Gulf is substantial, but it's still present. I mean, we rate the water in what's known as TDS, or total dissolved solids. Mm-hmm. And seawater might be 32,000 total dissolved solids. Mm-hmm. But on the in the bay side, you might be at 28,000. So there's a 4,000 difference. Now, a glass of drinking water might have 100.
Gotcha.
That's putting it in perspective for you. So, I mean, even this river water is going to have some level of salt in it. Either from agriculture because it's a runoff, so it's going to have minerality to it. You're going to have the wind blowing that water. It's not going to be as strong as 28,000, but it could be in the 5 to 6 range.
Okay. And where do you think the cutoff is on salinity for roofs, or would you know?
I mean, it's all going to depend on the metal. I mean, you've got your Galvalume roofs, you got your aluminum roofs, you got your Kynar coated roofs. I mean, all of these are going to be rated for different aspects, but then you have to think, like, if you don't have a V-crimp roof and you're dealing with like a fastened down roof, all of those fasteners are prone to potential rusting and salt spray. Not only that, the washers also. So you basically have to use a stainless product for your nails and washers. Now you enter into galvanic corrosion, which is from having different dissimilar metals touching each other.
So you really can't win. So now
You can't win.
Now, a follow-up question to that: if you do live on the water, say on the bay or anything like that, regular shingles, what does the salt water do to that? Does that have an issue, or is it just normal wear and tear?
I mean, you're going to be dealing with normal wear and tear. I mean, anytime
How about the clay tile? Same deal. Not as much issue with the salt.
I would think a clay tile roof is going to be bad on a golf course, and it's going to be bad against a open body of water. And the reason why is FEMA Technical Bulletin 8 talks about, which is also a piece of P762, it talks about the fact that tiles are brittle. Mm-hmm. So if you're on the water, you elevate from a Category B dwelling to a Category C, which means that you have nothing obstructing you in certain directions within 50 to 500 feet. Mm-hmm. So that allows for debris to fly into your roof more, and that will break and make your tiles brittle. So what is the best solution for the water? It's still a metal roof.
Okay.
Your best roofing material is always going to be the metal roof.
Okay.
Unless you have a flat roof, and then you might want to go back to these TPO or modified minimum.
But if you do that, if you're on the salt water, probably every 10 years for that stuff?
Well, that stuff, I mean, it's a thermoplastic. Like if you go with a TPO, which is a thermoplastic roof, then you're going to get 20 years on salt water. That salt water is not really going to make that eat faster. So what I do see a lot is on the water, I will see on Gulf Boulevard, those 8 to 12-story buildings, they're all coated in a TPO roof. Mm-hmm. And they're able to resist the salt spray. And that's what it's about. It's that salt's corroding it, galvanic corrosion. You have all these corrosions that happen to your roofing product, and then moisture gets in. I mean, if your nails, if you have a fastened metal roof and your nails have corroded, those become holes.
Interesting.
So, speaking of which, while Katrina still looks, I just have to ask one simple question.
I'm looking at some different stuff for me or Adam.
No, I was really intrigued by the roof stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got?
No, I heard it. I saw a chicken the other day in Ybor, since we're back in Ybor, and it was walking across the street, and it was headed to the gym. And I figured out why.
Why?
It wanted to work on its pecs.
I like
I
that
love
one.
that little Ybor City slide in right
So
there.
okay, I got one for you. When does a joke become a dad joke?
Oh, when?
When it's apparent.
I fell right into that.
That was a good one.
I fell right into that one. So what do you got, Kat? What do you got? What do you got into
So-
I can go home now. That's all I was waiting for.
Oh, when it becomes apparent.
All right, let's see here. So I'm looking, and this all sucks about parking. Anyway,
Well, you do know.
we're Brigadoon is in section 3. We're right behind Blackbeard's Revenge on the flow order. So we're section 3, the pink placards. I was reading the beginning part of this, which I thought was pretty funny and parade info. So it's probably worth mentioning, having a little fun with on air. It says this is a very rowdy parade.
Raunchy.
The crowd for the night parade is usually rowdy, and some are not considerate at all. Please stay in control, watch your own alcohol consumption, and stay far away from the crowd and be safe.
Stay away from that. So it's more like I thought when I was in the parade a couple of weeks ago, I felt zombie-esque with them like up against the barricades,
Yeah.
clamoring and
Yeah, yeah,
grabbing.
yeah.
I could just imagine the night parade is going to be more skin, more drinks, less beats.
More skin.
More skin.
So I'm up on the top, but my daughter usually walks it, so I'm going to have to let her know to stay away from the crowd.
That's interesting that they gave you a specific slot, because the way I saw the orders
always
were,
do, yeah.
no, they give you a color and they queue you on different streets, and whoever shows up first gets into those queue spots. So for pink, you might be in a different order. You have like 20 other floats.
They have a spot. They're
Oh.
marked.
That's
They
a
always
little
have a
different than what I was told.
They have a spot.
That's fine.
They
I don't
do.
know enough about
He's
it.
not
so-
going anywhere.
I'm not going anyway. I'm actually going to be on Bayshore during that time frame.
Oh, nice. What are you doing?
I'm just going to go visit the yacht club and chill.
Ah, very nice.
So this is saying see the map below, but there's no map below. But it says Norwego Garage on Nucio near Palmen 8th, and then all the
Okay, so yeah, the
7th.
garages are on the
Diego
west
garage.
side.
Staging runs straight down 7th Avenue down Nucio, but that's not the parade route.
No, and you can actually park in the garage and then take the trolley to where the parade lines up in queues.
I'm still looking for the route. Normally it's included. It said it was below on my thing that I got, but here it is right here, but it's not actually included.
The
So-
key is if you're a guest, you want to be on 7th Ave sometime between 4 and 6 o'clock so you can get into a good position. And if you want to be on the north side or the south side, you're going to have to use 21st, 22nd to queue back and forth. If you want more information on the parade, hit me up at 813-377-2775. That's 813-377-2775. We'll be more than happy to explain the whole parade intricacies. I can map plan this out for you in an OCD way that someone with autism would appreciate.
All right, we're going to go on the purpose we get back.
Home. You're listening to Tampa Home Talk. I'm Adam Talley with Talley Insurance, and 2-minute tip of the week. We're going to keep it short. We're going to keep it sweet. We're going to keep it positive for once in the insurance industry.
Is that possible, sir?
It is possible.
Speaking of positive, do you know that Switzerland happens to be my favorite country in the world?
Why?
Their flag is, well, for starters, their flag is a big plus.
I'm done with you today. Anyways, folks, on an even better note. On an even better note, there are still affordable policies out there for homeowners that cover everything. I sold one yesterday that was only $939.
Was the house built in 2024?
It was built in 2024.
I knew it.
But hey, no, that is still a good sign, though, that you can get a policy that inexpensive.
No wonder why people are flocking to new construction. There you go.
It's helpful. Well, so next year it's going to go up probably $300 or $400. So I tell people, hey, treat this like a discount because the next closest carrier is already there, right? So you're just saving over what you should be. But if you can get something, and we're seeing a softening of the market, at least on certain homes that fit certain characteristics, not even necessarily new homes. We're seeing carriers take homes again. Like, I mean, I've seen 50-year-old homes go with standard carriers where the rate makes sense, and you're not just like, well, here's Citizens at 3 and everybody else is at 8. Now
Yeah.
it's like Citizens is at 32 and here we are at 35.
Good.
pay the $35. I mean, this is a larger house in this price range.
It's got to
which is what I'm
balance out
saying.
at some point. Like, it just has to.
It does. We're seeing more options, which
Finally,
is good.
good.
Well, you
which is good.
definitely, if you can get on a carrier that is not Citizens, that is not Universal, you should explore those, because Citizens and Universal still have their fight all claims mentality going strong to litigate. And the latest I'm hearing from Universal on claims is if they deny your claim and you fight it, the only time they're going to give you a settlement offer is the day before trial, which that could be 18 months, 24 months after the claim. So carriers do matter. So use a firm like Adam Talley to look into other carriers and really tell you about these carriers and what they mean. So paying more for insurance might actually save you in the long run if you have to use
That'll
it.
be a lot of money in attorney's fees, by the way, if they're only settling the day before trial.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. So
It's funny that you mentioned those two, because those two are the two largest carriers by volume.
Here you go. All right, so the night parade starts at 7th and Nuncio, straight on down 7th. It ends at 7th and 23rd.
Okay, so
and
it
it's
goes
rowdy.
west to east.
Do not bring any kids.
Yeah, this
work
isn't
today?
a family-friendly event.
Not at all. All right. Okay. So
why is
home-
it not, so I mean, there's not naked people on the float. Why is this not family
because
friendly?
the naked people are in the crowds. That's why.
Yes, they're
But
fully
anyway,
naked people.
Yeah. All right.
Especially on the west side of Ybor, which is commonly referred to as Gaybor,
So-
where people like to bear all and bear it all in style.
Home improvement projects you should take on this year. We're going to go that direction. So we talked
Save
about
us.
this.
Save
we
us,
talked about
please.
this last week, Leo. But remember, smarter homes. So engineering and technical design services have jumped 105% year over year. Remember, we talked about all those smart home things. It's still up, and they're expecting this trend to continue well through all the year. And they're saying that remote controlled appliances, smart thermostats, smart lights, like all this stuff for adding convenience, cost-effective capabilities into people's everyday life. That those are some of the design
So
trends.
let's analyze that for a second, because I thought long and hard about what we talked about last week and these cost-effective upgrades. They're not really cost effective. So you get me an outlet that in the old days I had two prongs. It's on the wall right here. That might be a $2 or $3 outlet. Now you've got to upgrade it to an arc fault for the bedroom. That's $45. Or you have to upgrade it to a GFCI in the kitchen. That's $35. They're not really cost effective. You're paying for that convenience.
I think
What's
it's
an
a
arc
convenience.
fault?
So arc fault circuit interrupters interrupt the circuit during an arc fault.
So why would you put that only in the bedroom?
Because if you're nailing like a picture or something to the wall and you hit a wire, you don't want to start a house fire, right?
Pretty much.
Okay. Well, why wouldn't you have that in all the rooms?
Good question. I mean, the NEC, the National Electric Code, is trying to force it into all the bedrooms, but the outlets become much more expensive, and you can actually have the same thing going in your breaker box.
All right, so the next one, you'll appreciate this, Leo, and you can add a lot of value in this. So they're saying what's out is climate change destroying homes. So with the climate change basically being blamed on bringing unpredictable weather to cities across the U.S., historic floods, devastating tornadoes, hurricanes, all things, they're saying many homeowners are investing in upgrades to repair, keep their homes somewhat immune, right, to nature's wrath. So
White roofs, or what, are we getting the
they're-
white roofs?
No, but we should talk about that. That'll be for another day. They're saying home waterproofing is up 86% year over year, and that foundation repairs have risen 64%. Window installations and repairs are both up 53%, and general structural engineering services are up 61%.
So let's analyze some of
What do you
these
think about
numbers.
that?
Home waterproofing is up 86% year over year.
And I want to talk about that too. So let's
So-
give our people listening an example of home waterproofing.
So you need to repaint your home every 7 to 10 years.
It's not just paint, is it?
But when you repaint, you need to caulk your windows, you need to caulk any penetrations, you need to do sealants on any of those little cracks that appear over time on your house. So home waterproofing,
How often should people caulk their windows, just while we're on topic?
there's the 8 and 4 formula. So you should repaint your house every 8 years, and you should redo your caulking and sealants for your windows and penetrations every 4 years. Now, if you have been subjected to a storm event or have wood frame, those components, because wood frame tends to sway more a little bit, it gives, then you might have to be caulking every other year, caulking and sealants, because that's where your cracks are going to start to develop around that. So
Around the windows and stuff?
yeah, so hearing that home waterproofing is up 86% year over year doesn't surprise me. Foundation repairs have risen 64%. This is an interesting statistic when you break it down.
So, what do you think?
So when you think about construction 60 years ago, we were all pier and beam. We were elevated. Mm-hmm. Now we switched to slab on grade. And we not only switched to slab on grade, we switched to slab on grade with builders building them as fast as they can, and they're not properly compacting and preparing the pad soil. So foundation repairs are up because the buildings aren't constructed as well as they were 50 years ago to withstand ground movements.
So they're not taking their time to build a strong foundation. That's what I'm hearing.
Also, the fact that your home is elevated is actually a plus. It's easier to do your utilities. It's easier to redo your utilities. And it's more resistant to the natural sandy and clay soils we have here in Florida.
Well, and then if you have a leak, it goes down,
into the crawl space.
Yeah, correct. Not like if your stuff's in your ceiling, like, okay, so now it's like coming down the walls, because if you're slab on grade and they have to replumb your house, they're not drilling into your slabs or going through the attic. So, now it's causing more issues.
Also, when you have your copper pipes or your sewer lines, they start to corrode and break. If you're on a elevated home, crawl space home, mm-hmm. that water goes straight down to the ground. Mm-hmm. Like I had one claim that I was asked to assist with, and they're like, the whole kitchen flooded, the whole bedroom's flooded, the pipe was in the wall, and I'm like, how did the whole house flood if the pipe's in the wall and it's just going to go straight down into the crawl space? They couldn't answer that question. So I mean so now we have windows and installations and repairs are both up 53%. That's another interesting statistic. If you replace or repair more than 25% of the windows of your house, you got to do your whole house. And when you do that, you have to, in a lot of places, upgrade the types of windows you're using. So that 53% could just be a factor of the upgrades that the state of Florida is making you do due to Florida building code changes.
So why would you do some of your house and not all your house with windows anyways?
You should do the whole house.
Okay. Well, it's like kind of getting new tires. Why would you only get one new tire, don't you?
Well, sometimes you can't afford four, so you rotate the tires, and you know that the tires in the front wear more than the tires in the back due to the front wheel drive. So you put your older tires in the back and you replace the two in the front because that's what you can afford. So that's an example of why you'd only replace some windows and not all of them. You just simply can't afford it.
Interesting.
So another thing they're saying is scented design, which I thought was interesting.
Ugh,
but they're
what is
saying,
that? What does scented design
They're
mean?
saying a room scent will become a key design feature for homeowners.
I have a dog room. That makes sense.
So
that's a different kind of scent. Yeah.
They're saying just like a new mirror or an accent chair, the scent strongly influence aesthetics in 2024. Odor removal requests are also up 46% over a year ago.
I just imagine walking into like a Yankee Candle company like store, like.
And they're saying out is also white. So all the white is out. So the maximalist grandma chic style will reign in 2024 as homeowners get louder with colors and patterns as they choose to decorate their home instead of all white.
Now you have to understand these Vanity Fairs, these Cosmos, they make trends because they need people buying new and they need to control the market of capitalism and consumerism. So some of these trends just are simply out because if they're not out, people are just fine with what they got. So you have to force people to spend, especially, this is interesting, in a down economy or a recession economy like we're currently in, trends move faster because they're trying to convince people to buy more quicker.
Well, they're saying that essentially also the almonds and the tans might be back that took over the 2010s, and that some homeowners are ditching paint entirely. So paint removal up 60% compared to the year ago, and they're switching
going back to wallpaper.
No, they're switching to other like texture type accents. So like wood accents. So like the
beadboard
walls, yeah.
Beadboard.
Mm-hmm. That might be an example of one.
You're just walking into your house. Now you're walking into the cruise ship.
Well,
the bottom panels are beadboard. You got your top blues, wild colors. You look out the window and you see a swimming pool, but you don't have one. It's not really a window; it's a picture.
I've seen some I've seen some cool. Listen, I've seen some cool designs like the upper end ones with the little swoopy, like really big, thick.
I'm not following you on this one. I don't know if I like this trend.
It's not my trend. I'm just
bring back the wallpaper.
I don't know if that's ever coming back. Just saying.
Bring back the green shaggy carpet. Like I think it's 4 months ago when we talked about 2024 trends. The green shaggy carpet was on the list.
Yeah. No, I think that's
green shag carpet has not been on the list for about 40 to 50 lists.
No, it was actually on last year's list when we were doing this towards I think it was the late November show we were talking about it.
I don't know.
Green shag coming back. You can lose a child in that carpet.
All right. So let's go on to a couple other things. Remember how we were talking about the law, Leo, where DeSantis blocked not only Chinese citizens but other citizens.
Oh yeah, what I'm calling the Chinese Exclusion Act.
Yeah, from buying property. So I got this report a couple days ago, but it says that the courts blocked the Florida law barring Chinese citizens from owning property, and the U.S. Appeals Court has blocked Florida from enforcing this ban. For Chinese nationals were in the process of buying when the law was adopted, and they're saying that a panel out of Atlanta in the 11th U.S. Circuit of Court appealed this on Thursday, saying that they were likely to prevail on this, and that Florida's ban violates federal law governing real estate purchases by foreign nationals.
The only problem is that's a Pyrrhic victory, because anyone that was involved in buying property over a year and a half ago when the law went into effect and were banned can't buy those properties. So now you're in a situation where you have a buyer on a property who bought a property that might not be able to keep said property and have to resell it to this other individual. So this ruling could open up a really sticky wicket.
Well, China's foreign minister also said last year that they believe the laws violate the rules of market economy and international trade rules. The Office of Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody said she didn't want to immediately respond to this.
Pat George is calling. Are we actually on the air?
Yeah, I lost you guys. Your guys are gone. Unplug your thing and turn it back on.
All right. Well,
No.
okay. Are you?
Damn.
Okay.
Yeah, we were on a roll today.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Bye. I'll restart. Hold on. I'll restart.